Money consistently ranks near the top of the list for what causes conflict in relationships, and it remains one of the leading drivers of divorce. But there is a strange paradox at the center of these arguments. When two people are fighting over a specific receipt or a credit card statement, they almost never disagree on the actual math. The dollar amount is right there in black and white. Looking at this script excerpt, we see the real issue. They are disagreeing about what the number means. This disconnect happens almost entirely below the surface. Most partners step into a financial conversation totally unaware that they are operating inside two completely different realities. So trying to resolve a recurring fight over spending by running the numbers or building a tighter spreadsheet fails. You cannot fix a psychological clash with a math equation. To understand why these realities clash, we have to look at money scripts. These are the unconscious beliefs and rules about money that most of us absorb during childhood, simply by observing how our families handled finances. As outlined in our previous coverage, shown here, researchers categorize these into 4 foundational scripts: avoidance, worship, status, and vigilance. Reading through section 1, we find the most frequent collision when two people build a life together: the saver versus the spender. This usually happens when one partner leans towards vigilance, meaning they equate money strictly with safety, while the other leans toward worship, or simply grew up with more ease around spending. From inside the saver's head, the spender looks entirely reckless. Every non-essential purchase feels like a threat to their safety. But from the spender's perspective, the saver appears needlessly anxious and highly controlling, squeezing the joy out of life. The truth is, neither read is accurate. Both people are simply executing the behavioral script that made complete sense in the environment they grew up in. Their reactions are completely logical based on their past. They are simply incompatible in the present. This incompatibility twists ordinary actions into major conflicts. Take financial transparency. For a person carrying a vigilance or status script, logging in to review a joint bank statement together represents basic responsibility. To them, tracking the numbers means maintaining safety. But if we look closely at this section, we see the flip side. For someone with an avoidance script, that exact same shared tracking can feel exposing or even shameful because they were taught early on that looking too closely at money is wrong or uncomfortable. This explains why the standard advice to just be more open about your finances frequently falls flat. The simple act of reviewing a ledger carries 2 totally different emotional weights depending on who is looking at the screen. Total visibility only becomes productive when both partners recognize that analyzing a budget isn't a neutral activity. It exacts a real emotional toll on the partner whose script resists it. Reviewing this next document, we reach the deepest layer. Many of these disputes aren't really about cash at all. Money often becomes a proxy war for broader relationship needs like security, respect, or control. It is vastly easier to argue loudly about a $50 restaurant bill than it is to sit down and admit, I don't feel like an equal partner in this relationship. We substitute the hard numbers for the vulnerable feelings. The text gives us a clear diagnostic rule for this. If the emotional intensity of a conversation is escalating way faster than the actual dollar amount seems to justify, the real subject is very likely something sitting underneath the math. Identifying that underlying fear directly diffuses the argument immediately. Arguing the math, however, ensures you will be having the exact same fight next month. The most effective way to break that loop doesn't require agreeing on every single purchase. It starts with both partners identifying their personal money script and naming it out loud, ideally on a day when everyone is calm. The moment you say, I lean vigilant because of how things felt in my house growing up, you reframe your behavior. It instantly stops being a character flaw and becomes an understandable pattern. As laid out in the script's fix section here, a highly effective method is assigning each partner a monthly, no questions asked spending bucket. To balance that, establish a shared threshold. Anything above that amount requires a joint conversation before the card gets swiped. This framework succeeds because it honors both sides simultaneously. It grants the spender the autonomy they need, while guaranteeing the saver the visibility required to feel secure. Neither script dominates the relationship. Think about your own habits for a second. Do you and your partner lean toward the exact same money script, or do you fall on opposite sides? Let me know down in the comments. Looking ahead to our notes, next time we are tackling a question many people wonder. why does it feel so psychologically difficult to save for a future version of yourself, compared to spending on the version of you sitting here right now? Subscribe so you don't miss it. We will break down the specific psychological mechanism that closes that gap. See you next time.